Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and straight off of reviewing none other than Hyrule Warriors Legends from a Catholic perspective, now I'm going to review the game as a whole. Now, because the original Hyrule Warriors for the Wii U has such a tremendous amount of content, I would recommend you just watch that video first. It's called Hyrule Warriors / Wii U Post DLC Review. I always add the system's name in case it makes it easier to look up in the search engine. So watch that first, and then go back to this. So, if you've already played the Hyrule Warriors game for the Wii U, you pretty much know what to expect. This is a Legend of Zelda / Dynasty Warriors crossover that is both a port and, in a sense, a director's cut of the Wii U game. It has all of the same levels, and it has all of the characters from the previous game except 2, plus it adds 5 new characters. And to sort of make sure that the game is more enjoyable, because a lot of you might be thinking, well, why would they make a remake of a really good Wii U game on the inferior 3DS? Well, surprisingly, I actually enjoyed this remake way more than I did the original game. And let me tell you a couple of reasons why. First off, the dual screen is absolutely wonderful for making sure that the main action isn't so cluttered, which, is always a problem whenever I play a console game. I don't like too much of a UI. So when Hyrule Warriors Legends comes out and the map is on the bottom screen, instead of obscuring your view slightly like it did in the original Hyrule Warriors, I was thrilled. In addition, I really liked being able to switch between warriors with the tap of my fingers. It definitely cut rid of a lot of pointless running around in the original Hyrule Warriors, and I hardly ever felt like I was running from one mission to another and being able to fail them because I didn't know which one was coming up and when. And even though I was fairly late into the game before I discovered this, you can also command the units that you're not currently controlling and tell them where to go. So if you have multiple objectives going on at once, that can be an easier way to handle it. There's also 2 new items, which there weren't really that many in the original game to begin with, but you can get the Ocarina, which allows you to warp to owl statues using the Song of Soaring, even though they play the Ballad of Gales from Wind Waker. Oh well, whatever one it is. And that makes running around the huge levels much, much easier, even though it's odd that only some levels have owl statues. And the hammer, which you get when you play the new Wind Waker side storyline, which lets you hammer switches. Yeah, pretty basic stuff. Now, regarding the new content, I thought it was nice, but it didn't feel necessary at the same time. Linkle's Tale, I liked the concept behind it. You've got like a female version of Link that actually talks, but not the cringeworthy dialogue in the CDI games. She's basically this spunky young girl, has to be probably preteen at least. And she has a green tunic and a compass, and she believes that she is the hero of time, and so she rushes off to do her duty as the hero, and in turn gets lost and ends up returning to many of the same maps that you've already discovered in the main game, and having to go through a bunch of trials and beating monsters and whatnot. The lack of map variety is certainly disappointing, and it's a shame that her quest is so darn short, but I love her character so much that I really wish they had made an entire game based around her. But I digress. At least she's playable in free mode if you really want to live out your dreams of the legendary hero status. Also, Sia's Tale, which was an optional add-on as paid DLC in the original Hyrule Warriors, becomes immediately unlockable once you beat the main game, therefore allowing you to view basically what was going on behind the scenes with the more villainous characters. That again was really short, and I probably didn't need to view it to grasp the whole extent of the story. Plus, Sia, Wizro, and Volga are extremely boring characters that I honestly couldn't care less about any of them. Then, after you beat all of that, then you get a new Wind Waker storyline, which seems to be a pattern here. It was cool at first, but it was simply too short. I felt like yesterday I was getting introduced to Tetra and these all new cartoony enemies from the Wind Waker universe, and then today I play it again and I'm like, wait, what? I'm already at the final battle? So, yeah, it went by that quickly. There were only like 4 levels, and the new characters from the Wind Waker, they didn't really have too much of a starring role. It felt like they were just kind of there for the sake of fan service and nothing else, which admittedly that was the case for most of Hyrule Warriors to begin with, but seeing as this was more of a director's cut, I really wish they had gone the extra mile. Now, I did say that this is a post-DLC review, so obviously I got a chance to try out the new characters and some of the new weapons like Toon Link's Sand Rod, and I got, amiibo support straight out of the gate, and I found the new content to be worth purchasing, if not only for the fact that you can add them to the Wii U version to see everything in HD, but also you get many more adventure mode maps, which give you lots and lots and lots of collectibles. The original Hyrule Warriors had so much to collect, and this game has pretty much everything, including all of the DLC characters. Admittedly, you have to unlock most of them, but you don't have to pay for them anymore, which is amazing. Now, a few of the controversial aspects of the game I'd like to briefly talk about before I give my verdict. Again, if you watched my original Hyrule Warriors review, you should already know most of this to begin with. There's this entirely new mode called My Fairy, and honestly, I didn't see the point of it. I could see a limited appeal, though. Being able to develop a fairy that fits your personality and be able to give it clothes and whatnot has kind of an Animal Crossing-esque feel to it, but only twice in the entire main game did I ever actually have to use one of my fairies. And I thought that that was kind of a letdown, especially because it has a lot of potential, nurturing your own companion. But the game never requires you to actually use them. It's basically just an optional add-on that you could use if you wanted, but it doesn't make or break game. Although it is slightly amusing to hear the Great Fairy Fountains theme played with Layton-style accordions. The other controversial aspect is which system to play it on. Now, every single review I have read or watched for Hyrule Warriors Legends, and I've pretty much watched all of them, mind you, said that you should avoid this game like the plague if you have anything less than a new 3DS or new 3DS XL. Now, while I wouldn't say the plague, I would definitely say that the new 3DS is the superior option, because I played it on the old 3DS first, and to sort of compare it, playing on the old 3DS is like watching a YouTube video that keeps buffering, and you have to keep waiting for it to eventually figure out what you want to do. Occasionally the character will act a lot slower than your button presses, not as many enemies show up on the screen, and there's no 3D, which, admittedly, when you do play it on a new 3DS, the 3D does slow down the game again, but the 3D makes up for it in the cinematics, which are still just as gorgeous as they were on the Wii U, if not actually better, because the stereoscopic 3D, while it's subtle, it's not as in-your-face as most other 3DS games, it definitely adds an added depth to the characters to make them feel 3D. And since there's more cutscenes than in the original Hyrule Warriors, it's like, cool! Now we get Wii U quality cinematics on a tiny screen. Awesome! So yes, definitely play it on the new 3DS if you can, because the game controls just as smoothly, if not better, than the original Hyrule Warriors. Plus, you get the added C-Stick for camera controls, which is also really awesome. I'm going to try not to go too much longer here, because there's only so much you can say about a Warriors game before you end up boring yourself. If you've played the original Hyrule Warriors, you probably don't need to come back to this remake, unless you want the spectacular soundtrack to be available on the go or to play in the car, in which case I would totally buy it, because the new Wind Waker tunes are awesome in and of themselves. Anyway, thank you for listening. Hope you'll stay tuned for further reviews, and until then, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.